Listen up, because what I'm about to tell you in the next 15 minutes might be the single most important financial decision you ever make, not for yourself, but for your child. The federal government just handed every parent in America a $1,000 check. And 90% of them are going to waste it. They'll open the account, feel good about it for a week, and then never touch it again. And 60 years from now, their kid will retire broke, while their neighbor's kid retires a millionaire. And the only difference was a few intentional decisions made before that child could even tie their shoes. I'm going to show you exactly what this new account is, why the math inside it is almost unfair, and how to set it up today, step by step, so that your child never has to have a single conversation about money stress for the rest of their life. Let's go. Here's a number that should genuinely disturb you. 62% of Americans in 2025 report owning stock. That sounds okay, until you flip it. That means 38% of Americans own absolutely zero stock. And the ownership rate drops to 42% among those with a high school education or less, and just 28% among households earning under $50,000 a year. The wealth gap in this country isn't just a housing problem or an income problem. It's a compounding problem. It's a nobody gave me a seat at the table problem. And that's what makes what Congress just did so significant, whether you agree with the politics or not. On July 4, 2025, President Trump signed into law the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Buried inside that bill is a provision that could permanently change where your child lands financially. It's called a Trump account, and it's effectively an IRA for toddlers. You could almost think of it as a cross between a traditional IRA and a 529 savings account. And here's the part that everyone is talking about. The account features a pilot program contribution of $1,000 for children born between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2028, who are U.S. citizens with a valid Social Security number. The government is literally writing your newborn a check, a $1,000 head start. And that seed money, combined with index investing and 60 years of compound growth, creates math that is almost impossible to argue with. But here's the truth nobody is saying out loud. About 57% of Americans don't own any stocks at all. The two most common reasons are a lack of money to invest and a lack of knowledge. That's exactly what this video is here to fix. Let's get into the mechanics so you know exactly what you're dealing with. Here's what a Trump account actually is. A government-backed investment account built to give your kid a financial head start. The U.S. Treasury seeds it with $1,000 for every child born between 2025 and 2028. The money grows tax-deferred in low-cost U.S. stock index funds until the child turns 18. Now let's talk contributions. No contributions are required, but you can deposit up to $5,000 per year to maximize growth. The account balance grows on its own whether you add anything or not. The $5,000 annual limit is there if you want to accelerate. Who can contribute? Almost anyone. Parents, grandparents, other family members, friends, employers, and nonprofits can all put money in. Here's something most parents don't know. If your employer offers this as a benefit, they can contribute up to $2,500 a year toward your child's account. And that money doesn't count toward your taxable income. That's free money stacked on top of the government's seed deposit. And most employees won't even know to ask about it. What about the investment rules? The account has to stay in low-cost U.S. stock index funds or ETFs, funds that track U.S. markets. No individual stocks, no leverage. And here's a detail that actually matters. Fees are capped at 0.1%. That means almost none of the growth gets skimmed off by Wall Street. It stays in the account. On taxes. Growth inside the account is tax-deferred. No tax is owed on capital gains or dividends until money is withdrawn. The overall tax treatment is expected to work like a traditional IRA. And when the child turns 18, the account becomes theirs. They can keep it growing under traditional IRA rules. Or, and this is the smart move, they can convert it to a Roth IRA at what's likely a very low tax rate at that age, and then enjoy tax-free growth for decades after that. That's the foundation. Now let's talk about what this actually becomes over time, because this is where it gets almost absurd. Let me show you why this account, if used correctly, makes it almost impossible to retire poor. We start with the S&P 500. The average annual return has been about 10% since the index launched in 1957. Over the last 100 years, the annualized return is 10.42%. That is the engine this account plugs your child's money directly into. Now, let's run the math at 10%, which is actually conservative based on the historical record. The minimum path: seed money only, no additional contributions. You do absolutely nothing. You open the account, collect the $1,000 from the government, and let it sit. Over 60 years at 10%, that $1,000 becomes approximately $304,000 from doing the bare minimum. The intentional path: $100 a month. You contribute just $100 a month, $1,200 a year, for 18 years while your child is growing up. Total personal contribution: $21,600. Starting with the $1,000 government seed, adding $100 a month for 18 years at 10%. You'd have roughly $62,000 by the time they're 18. Let that ride for another 42 years. At 10% growth, that becomes well over $2.5 million. All from $100 a month. The maximum path: full contributions. A Trump account opened at birth and funded at the $5,000 maximum each year could grow to more than $191,000 by the time the child turns 18. Roll that forward at 10% for another 42 years, and you're looking at a number with 7 figures before you even start counting. This is the compounding formula the wealthy have always understood, and now your child has a government-sponsored seat at the same table. Here's why it matters even more when you zoom out. Only 21% of American families own shares directly. The game has always been tilted toward people who already had capital. This account changes that, at least for children born in this 4-year window. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent called Trump accounts among the most significant policy innovations of modern times. A merger of Wall Street and Main Street for families who've always been locked out. Senator Ted Cruz put it plainly: Trump accounts will give everyone a stake. The math backs that up completely. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most parents will open this account, collect the $1,000, and then treat it like a piggy bank or ignore it entirely. And that right there is the tragic mistake. While the long-term average return of the U.S. stock market is roughly 10% a year, most people's actual return is less than half that. A J.P. Morgan study found that investors averaged just 2.9% annually, while the broad market returned far more over the same period. Why? Because people panic and sell during downturns. They try to time the market, they make emotional decisions, and they pay high fees to fund managers who don't beat the index anyway. The Trump account is specifically designed to remove those bad decisions from the equation. It locks your child into low-cost index funds. It restricts withdrawals until 18. Fees are capped at 0.1%. But the account can only do its job if you actually use it. The parents who will waste this money are the ones who open the account and never contribute a dollar beyond the government seed, who see a down market year and panic, who treat it like a savings account instead of a 60-year compounding machine, who never explain to their child what it is or why it exists. The parents who will turn this into generational wealth are the ones who start small, even $50 a month, and just don't stop. Because the U.S. stock market has delivered an average annual return of around 10% since 1926, short-term results vary. In any given year, returns can be positive, negative, or flat. But over 60 years, the trajectory only goes one direction. Let's make sure you know exactly who this account is for. Any child who is 17 or younger for the entire calendar year and has a Social Security number can have a Trump account. To receive the $1,000 federal seed, the child must be a U.S. citizen, born between 2025 and 2028. What if your child is older than that? You can still open a Trump account for them. You just won't receive the $1,000 government contribution. The tax-deferred growth benefit still applies. The account still works. What about income limits? There are none. No income restrictions whatsoever. All you need is a valid Social Security number for the child. And here's a bonus that most people haven't heard about. The Michael and Susan Dell Foundation contributed $6.25 billion to fund $250 deposits for qualifying children in certain zip codes. So even if your child is a few years older, there may still be outside seed money available depending on where you live. Alright, here's the part most videos skip. Exactly how to open this account. Step 1. File IRS Form 4547. To open a Trump account and claim the $1,000 seed deposit, you'll need to file IRS Form 4547 with your 2025 tax return, or register online at trumpaccounts.gov. Step 2. Know the timeline. The IRS will begin sending account activation information in May 2026. Accounts go live on July 5th, 2026. Right now, you register your intent and the account gets funded when it launches. Step 3. Understand priority. If multiple people could open an account for the same child, the IRS follows a priority order. Legal guardian first, then parent, then adult sibling, then grandparent. Step 4. Choose your contribution strategy. You don't have to max out the $5,000 immediately. Start with what you can, even $25 or $50 a month. Set it to auto transfer so it happens without you thinking about it. Automate the habit. Remove your emotion from the equation and let the index fund do the work. Step 5. Talk to your employer. An employer can contribute up to $2,500 a year toward the account, and the contribution won't count toward your taxable income. Most employees won't even know to ask about it. Ask. Step 6. Revisit at every milestone. Every birthday, every holiday, every tax refund. Redirect some of it here instead of buying your child another toy they'll forget in a week. The real gift is the one that compounds. 4 million children have already been signed up for Trump accounts. 1 million have claimed the $1,000 pilot program contribution. Don't let your child be the one who missed it. Here's what I want you to sit with for a moment. The reason the wealthy stay wealthy isn't because they work harder, it's because they understand time in the market. They understand that money compounding for 60 years becomes something that's genuinely hard to spend down. They understand the power of starting early. Trump accounts represent something real here. Combining government and philanthropic seeding with tax-deferred growth, they offer a real vehicle for every American child to participate in the growth of the U.S. economy. That hasn't existed before. And consider this. Since 1957, the S&P 500 has delivered an average annual return of 10.33%. That history didn't include wars, market crashes, recessions, and pandemics by accident. It included all of those things, and still averaged over 10%. That is the machine you're plugging your child into. Your kid doesn't need to be a genius. They don't need a trust fund. They just need a parent who opened an account, started contributing even a little, and didn't touch it for 60 years. So here's where we land. The government opened a door. It's offering every eligible child born between 2025 and 2028 a $1,000 head start into one of the most powerful compounding vehicles ever created. The math is extreme, the fees are capped, the mechanism is simple, and the time horizon is long enough to turn even modest contributions into life-changing wealth. The only question left is, are you going to act? Go to trumpaccounts.gov right now, or file Form 4547 with your 2025 tax return. It takes minutes, and 60 years from now, your child will either be the one who wonders why they're behind, or the one who wonders why everyone doesn't do this. You already know which one you want them to be. If this video helped you, smash that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment with your child's age. I'll respond with the exact compounding number for their specific timeline. See you in the next one. I'm not a financial advisor or tax professional. This video is for educational purposes only. Always consult a qualified CPA or financial advisor before making any decisions based on what you've seen here.